Sleep Geek podcast. It's a raucous romp through the mattress industry with your hosts, Mark Kinsley and Mark Quinn. Dos Marcos. Mattress industry mavens, hang on to your quilted pillow tops because this tick's about to get real.
You don't look like you're actively sweating, but you look like you have been sweating.
I look like I've been doing something physical now.
Hold on, your mic's way too low. Give me a mic check one.
How about that?
There we go.
Is that better?
You're back now.
All right, good.
Have you been actively?
Well, I'm glad you asked, Kinsley. I've been, so I go to the gym, as you know, in the morning. I drop my son off, and my club has just started pickleball. Do you know anything about this sport?
I've heard of the sport, but I've never played it, so I have no insights whatsoever.
So I have to admit, being a little judgy, because pickleball to me sounds stupid to begin with. So just start with that.
It sounds like something you and I would do.
Which is perfect for us. So I do a little research. Did you know that pickleball is the fastest growing sport in the country? Maybe the world, I don't know. I can't go that far. But in the country, it apparently for the not assisted living, but the Del Webb communities of the world, they're popping these courts up everywhere. Very popular with seniors, but it's also very popular with other. My kids play it in school. So it's kind of, I look at it like a mashup of ping pong and racquetball and tennis all in one sport.
Ping pong, racquetball, tennis all in one sport.
Yeah, right.
All right, so describe it to me because I don't know. Is there a court?
Yeah.
Is there a stage?
Yeah, it's like tennis. So a tennis court, and you have like the tennis court, like the net. You can like literally roll up and put in a bag. Like it's all on tubular steel, so it's really easy to put together. And then the racket looks a little bit like a racquetball racket, but it's solid. Now you can get a wood one. They're like $4 and whatever. But I went and bought like it's a material like a graphite, like like way advanced racket, a pickleball racket for like $32 on Amazon. So I got an advanced version.
This is like the Louisville Slugger newest edition.
It's just not the wood beginner.
Corked bat.
Yeah, no. It's not the wood beginner paddle that they give you to start out. I went and bought one. You know what I'm saying? You got to get
All right,
a
so
good
what
equipment.
do you actually do? Do you like hit the ball up against a wall?
No,
think
tennis, but short court.
Short court tennis.
Right.
So it's just almost like you're standing on top of the ping pong table and it grew.
Exactly. So, but why it's so big with seniors, it's not like you're not moving around, but with seniors, if you're playing doubles, you're not having to run a tennis court. So it's much better, but you're out and you're moving and you're active and it's great, but it's a blast to play. And the ball looks like a wiffle ball, actually. It's heavier and you can smack the crap out of it. And it's all about, but here's what's funny. So my son's playing basketball. I'm at the YMCA. He's balling it up. And this group of people is playing pickleball. And I'm sitting there watching them play pickleball. And they go, "Do you want to play? We need another player." I'm like, hell yeah. So I play competitive tennis, right? So in high school. So I'm thinking to myself, these 70-year-old, 65, 70-year-old people, it's not fair that I'm going to go in and be like the fourth. You know what I'm saying?
It's like you walk on and you bend down and like pump up your shoes.
Yeah. I kind of I was trying to play it cool. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But in my head, I'm thinking, I'm going to smoke you old people. I'm going to smoke every one of you. And it might be bad. We may have to call in some medical assistance by the time I get done with you guys.
They're going to have life alert, right?
Yeah.
Like they're going to have to click the button because Mark Quinn is coming.
Well, right. So they give me this wood paddle, right? That automatically trying to get me on, a disadvantage. So I'm stretching, I'm getting the muscles ready. And I go out there, and these people...
You're touching the toes. You're doing the overhead stuff, the whole 9 yards.
You got it. And I'm hitting the ball around, and tennis is kind of coming back to me. They kicked my butt all over that court.
Hence the sweating that I kind of saw.
Not today. Now I'm into this sport now 3 weeks, so I'm getting better. But these guys, I'm telling you, man, I went out in my head because I'd played tennis. I'm thinking to myself, right? I got this. And it was pretty embarrassing, actually. They smoked me. It was pretty bad.
One time when I was a very young kid and my grandparents lived in the middle of Missouri and I went to visit them, but my dad was pretty good at pool. right? So he taught me how to play pool and how to
Swimming in one
no
or
pool, like billiards.
shooting? Oh, got
billiards,
it.
yeah. So he taught me how to play pool and how to use the cue, and I got pretty good.
Yeah.
Even as a young kid, my dad was the champion of this thing and all this.
Your dad was a champion pool player.
Well, it was
Of a bar, or
champion
was it
of this building complex
Okay,
group.
all right.
So anyway, but he won against some legitimate
That's pretty
players.
good.
He's a pretty good pool player. Well, so anyway, my grandmother,
Yeah.
who at the time was in her early 80s, we went to the senior center to have lunch with them, and I'm probably 10 or so. And I was a pretty good pool player. Even as a little kid, I was like,
So you're 10 and you're like a hustler, a pool hustler.
well, I was playing okay.
Yeah.
And I asked Grandma, I said, Grandma, would you play pool with me? And she said, sure. And her name is Minnie.
Minnie.
Can you imagine
But
this
isn't
woman?
your real grandma.
This is my real
Your
grandma.
real grandma named Minnie. All right.
So can you imagine a woman named Minnie?
No.
She's very
She's
calm.
small. Was she small?
Small.
Okay.
Petite.
She's a grandma.
Soft-spoken.
Yeah, got it.
She always had a napkin up her sleeve.
Okay. You mean a
Kleenex up her sleeve.
I totally know what you mean. I don't think anyone does that anymore, by the way.
And maybe she had some tricks up her sleeve too. Because we get out there to play pool, and Grandma Minnie, who's all of maybe 5'2", 100 pounds,
Right.
fully
She is
clothed
Minnie.
with
Yeah,
all of her sweaters.
Sure.
She hit the ball so gently, I didn't think it was going to make it across the table to hit the other ball. And then it hit the ball, and the other ball would gently roll into the pocket. I mean, it was just like very elegant.
She kissed the ball.
Kissed
Just
the
a
ball.
kiss.
The cue ball kissed the other ball, and it
Oh
just
my.
gently glided into the pocket.
Okay.
And she did that once, and then twice, and then 5 times in a row.
She's running the table.
And then she makes the 8 ball, and I'm standing around going, I hope nobody's seeing this.
Uh-huh.
And then I asked her to play again, thinking it was a fluke, and Grandma just went ahead and whipped me up one side and down the other.
The old underestimation game.
Yeah, so I know what it feels like when you
see?
step onto the pickleball court
Yeah.
and you get mopped.
Well, I thought, well, anyway, so we're both, I think everyone's probably had those experiences, but if you haven't played pickleball, or if you have played pickleball, tell us what you think. It's a big growing sport. I am shocked. Jeff Shower, what is he saying? I was actually watching a pickleball tournament late one night on CBS Sports. So
pickleball is a thing. I'm going to have to get involved here.
No, I want to see a tournament. I want to see what the real pros do, because I was interested about that today. So I'm going to have to check that out, Jeff.
And if you're listening on the podcast, we're live on Facebook. We do this every time we go live on a podcast. So we send out an invite. Make sure and like the Facebook group. And so we sometimes read some of the comments. Trent Ramberger, what's up, my friend? Merry Christmas to you, too. He said, Merry Christmas to Dos Marcos. Are you texting during the show?
No, my wife just texted me. We got a handyman at my house doing some major work right now. So she's needing a decision on something that he's doing. So forgive me for a brief second.
Yes,
you're talking to the audience. No. She's a bath, she loves baths every night. Bath, ceremonial, has a TV in there. That's her thing.
Decompress, unwind.
Yeah, that's her place.
Yeah.
And so it's down. Bath is down.
Ooh.
So, it's kind of a big deal.
Not good in the holiday season.
It's really not.
Or any time of year.
So, holiday is coming up. So, Trent, good to see you out there, man. And for everyone joining us.
Sorry, guys, as the recording of this podcast is before Christmas, but it's going to air after. So I just had to be honest with you.
So, Happy New Year.
Yeah. Hey, Kirsten, while we're being honest about something, can you go track down some batteries? Because the Zoom recorder that we have, it looks like it has 1 bar on the battery, and we'll keep going live on Facebook, and we could just stop it and then keep recording. It would be no big deal, but I just want to be prepared. So Mark's got the handyman. He's sweating from pickleball. My grandma Minnie used to clean house when it came to pool.
We got a lot of stuff to do. That's it. Are we done?
This is over.
Put this one. This episode's done.
One of the things that's been floating around in the industry, speaking of competition, is this CollegeHumor video. And on one hand, I don't want to legitimize it with a comment because it's something that if you just pluck it out and watch it on its own, and that's your entire perception of the industry, it's wrong. But the reason I'm bringing it up is because Dave Perry, I touched base with him from Furniture Today behind the scenes about this CollegeHumor video that basically says the mattress industry is one big ripoff. and the video is very highly produced. It's more like a short film. And so people have been sending it to me, and I know it's been floating around. And last time I checked, it had over 2.4 million views, so it's relevant. What's your take on it? I mean, it's from this guy who's part of CollegeHumor called Adam Ruins Everything, and I think he just tries to ruin everything. That's his whole.
Well, I'm with you. I think the production quality is really high. I mean, he really did a great job. That's number one. Number two, I was waiting to watch that and have that gotcha moment going, you're wrong, and just take notes. I had a pen out, ready to take notes. There's not a lot that he says that's wrong. So this guy spent time, he invested in learning his way into our industry, and I think he got a lot right. And I'm going to tell you, Kinsley, forget the fact that we're in this industry. From a consumer's perspective, it's a complete ripoff in ways. I get that. It's incredibly hard to shop. And when you look at, and we've talked about this before.
And that's where I take a little bit of issue, because something being a ripoff and being difficult to navigate are two separate issues. Because you think about, what do we talk to people about frequently? Building value and how much time you actually spend sleeping on a mattress.
Right.
And so just because something is very difficult to navigate, it doesn't mean it's not a good value.
No, and I guess that's not necessarily the part that I think could be considered a ripoff.
I think we need 4 AA's.
What do we got?
I think Diana has them, or maybe Janine.
Are we going to die here? Is
Well,
this whole thing going to blow up on us?
Maybe.
Okay.
I don't know. Well, okay, so sorry, go back.
No, so I think from a consumer's perspective, if you're out trying to shop the oak tree mattress versus the elm tree mattress, but it's the same bed, right? And you go from one store to the other and you're trying to figure that out, don't you feel like someone's trying to deceive you if you're a consumer?
Yeah, it's the same thing whenever you find out, like, hey, I go shopping for an automobile.
Right.
And, the Dodge Stratus is basically the same guts as the Dodge Neon. I may be screwing that up. Or the Lincoln car is the same chassis as the Taurus. You know what I mean? They're trying, and these are manufacturers trying to platform those goods, trying to get as much mileage, no pun intended, literally, much mileage out of those raw materials as possible. And then it ends up, you find that stuff out and you're like, well, wait a minute. Where's the value then? So how do I navigate that?
Right. So keep going with that, right? So the oak tree is $1,500. And then you go across the street, you're shopping for a recliner, and you find out that the elm tree is $13.99 from the competition. And you already bought the oak tree. How are you feeling about that? You feel like you're ripped off?
I think it depends on a variety of factors, like how much extra value did I get? Did they remove my mattress? All the stuff that goes along with the purchase.
No, it absolutely does not.
It does for me.
It does.
Convenience and the people matter and all that stuff. But if you just look at it on paper, like, if you're going to hire somebody for your business and you just look at the cut on paper,
right?
That's your comparison. Then
right.
Yes, it would feel like you're getting ripped off.
So I think it would, and I think that's part of what people see. Another one, I think.
Okay, so let's dissect that a little bit.
Sure.
Is that a product of the mattress industry? Is that a product of retailers? Is that a product of the mattress manufacturer?
No, from our industry, yeah, I do. From our industry perspective, I think it's really smart. You got the Pro Cells.
Got some Pro Cell batteries here, just in case. I've never
seen that brand before.
Hey, help me keep an eye on this recorder though, because
why
it could go off, and I'm not looking at it all the time. So if it goes off,
right.
You know what we should do?
What?
Why don't we just change the batteries out right now so we avoid that problem, and we'll stay live on Facebook.
Okay, so people listening to this in the podcast won't even know. It's going to be like magical.
Here's what's going to happen. Hold on, I got to. You talked over my click.
Can I count it down?
Okay, can I?
In
count?
3.
And then can I click at the end?
Fine,
okay.
click, and then it'll come right back on.
And then I'm going to press stop on the record button.
In 3, 2, 1.
And just like that, we're back.
And we're back. Not a beat missed.
Yeah, we probably could have just kept going and nobody would have known.
Or cared. So, all right. So you okay? The origin of this, right? So we're talking about the names being right. So being different. So it's smart from an industry perspective. By the way, tires do it, right? So you sell a certain tire at Sam's that you don't sell at Discount Tire, right? Same thing. But same type quality, right? You just call it something else. From an industry perspective, it's smart because guess what? You can sell as a manufacturer. The retailers, the big retailers really drive that. So one big retailer A says, I don't want their stuff because if I have their stuff, then I have to hold myself accountable to the margins they sell at. I may want to get better margin or worse margin. And if I have to compete with their line, then I think that's less of an issue today, but that's where it started. The retailer saying, I want my own stuff so I don't have to compete with them. And then it can't be cross-shop. That's really the essence of the whole thing.
And I think we're looking at Facebook Live right now. Jeff Shire sums it up. He says, I had this happen to me. So Jeff is a retailer in Michigan. He said, I had this happen to me because other retailers were complaining about my low prices. So the manufacturer of this specific product placed a different label on this line of beds at my store to make it more difficult for people to cross-shop. But Jeff told them, hey, I'm still going to provide complete specs so people can still shop intelligently. And I think that goes back to, Jeff's a good actor in the industry.
Well, the evolution.
But that's saying right there that the manufacturer drove it in that instance,
but
because of another retailer making the request.
Right. Now, in Jeff's case.
So it's everybody.
But in Jeff's case, he's a good actor, but he's also the low margin guy. So if he's working on a lower margin, then the guy's working on a higher margin. They're not going to do that. They're not going to try to give transparency to the consumer, right? So I want to talk about transparency, but I want to go back to another thing. The evolution, Kinsley, of price being an issue in our industry, that came to MAP program, right? So Stearns and Foster, I believe, one of the first, if not the first to launch that. I was there for it, actually.
Tell people, just in case they don't know, what is MAP?
Sure. It's like Coach Leather, for instance. It's the manufacturer saying to the retailer, you can't say, hey, you can't set prices. That's the rule, legal side.
Right. So
you
the
have
manufacturer
to say,
of the product can't set the
I'll
price.
sell you my stuff, but if you sell it below this, tell me now because I'm not selling it to you. So that's not me telling you what you can sell it at. It's me saying to you, sign an agreement with me up front. This is what our policy is. If you agree to it, then fine, we'll sell you our product. If not, then we're not selling you. So it's just a way to manipulate that. But anyway, and so that's why
but it stands for
MAP
minimum
programs, minimum advertised price.
pricing.
Yep, sorry about that.
So,
Thank
and the
you.
agreement does say, hey, if I'm going
Right.
to sell you this product, the retailer can't advertise
Right.
it below X price.
Right. And when we launched Spink and Egger, we really thought hard about mapped pricing. But here's the problem with it. If you're Tempur or Stearns, a lot of times a retailer will break MAP pricing. And then the manufacturer says, boy, if you break MAP, don't do it because I won't give you a co-op. There's all kinds of penalties. What ends up happening is they never get the line pulled from them, even if they're a consistent violator of MAP, and it makes everyone very frustrated. So that's one problem with it. Second problem with it, if you're someone like me, we didn't have leverage to enforce it, right? We weren't like a Tempur-Pedic where you can say, if there's a threat of them pulling the line, that's a real, so they'll stop doing it, right? And then the third is, I also believe that retailers should be able to adjust pricing as they see fit. But anyway.
Well, and I'll tell you what, one of the big things there, you described really well for Spink and Edgar. If you don't have a legal team or a team dedicated to enforcing it, once somebody steps out of school, others are going to follow suit. And if you're not like putting the hammer down every time, then it can quickly get out of hand and snowball in the wrong direction. So it's like if you have a policy and you're not able to enforce that policy
Right.
structurally,
It's frustrating,
operationally,
right.
then that's going to demoralize some of the people that are good actors that are
Right.
selling your product.
Well,
Make it difficult for them.
And I think it's more about picking the right partners, don't you? I mean, if you pick we aren't into the business for mass distribution. We want the right people. We want people that are going to treat our brand the way it needs to be treated. It's a luxury brand. If you don't get that, or if you're not going to treat it that way, then we aren't going to sell them anyway, right? So there's that. But transparency, let's talk about that, Kinsley, because you're really dialed into consumers and what they want today. Isn't it true that there is a real trend towards transparency and brands that are transparent that really kind of show you what's under the hood are being rewarded for that?
I think so. It really is kind of just a symptom of modern society in a way. You have so many options. You have reviews systems out there that are being called into question. So how do you combat that? I mean, I think that what you ultimately end up having to do is figure out how you can be as transparent as possible and do it consistently over time. Because, you know, products are going to come from overseas and people are going to make them here and there. You can't control, you know, what the bad actors in your industry are going to do, but you can control your commitment to transparency. And I think the consumers these days, you may not be able to say, yeah, I really want a transparent company to do business with. You may not say that consciously, but when you see it and you experience it, I think it resonates with them, and they will give you their trust, their attention, and ultimately their money in exchange for a good product.
Can you think of, I hate to put you on the spot, but can you think of someone that's doing that right, that's transparent, that's really kind of, I don't know, just has that gets credit for having that honest relationship with the consumer?
You know, I've seen Warby Parker, the glasses company, do a very good job.
So disruptors, right?
Disruptors. I mean, Warby Parker, of course, they actually make the specs I have on my face right now. And
mine too, actually.
Yeah, so they're a glasses company, and they're online, and they send them to your house originally, and you could try them on and, you know, get the ones you wanted. They have a lot of stores now. But the reason I called them out as an example is because we were at a mattress conference one time, and somebody had mentioned them as an example of a good company doing things to be in front of people. And they said, yeah, if you tweet at them, they'll reply with a video to your Twitter comment. And sure enough, somebody tried it right there on the spot. They didn't broadcast this up on the screen or on the stage, but somebody sitting beside me tried it on the spot and said, check this out. And this gal replied with a Twitter video of like, hey, how you doing, John? Thanks so much. Yeah, we really do reply, and we really appreciate you reaching out, and hope you have a great day.
Wow.
And if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. This really positive, friendly person. I'm like, that's a great example of not just saying we care about our customers and all this stuff, showing it, proving it.
For sure.
And doing it in the digital space, which is hard to scale.
So let's get back to that video. I think, so that was one part. So it's a ripoff. I think it's not fair to say our industry is, in fact, just broad sweeping statement a ripoff. But there are parts of it, right, where if you have a 10-inch thick memory foam bed and it's you buy it for $2,500 or $1,500 or $1,000, and then you see one on Amazon for $250, like, doesn't that bother you a little bit if you're a consumer, not knowing that there's a difference or not being told what the difference is? I think that kind of stuff is a problem, and that's just really an education piece more than anything. What else was in that video that he talked about?
You're talking about the CollegeHumor video?
Yeah, the CollegeHumor video.
Okay.
Oh, he talked about everyone having buying from the same manufacturers.
Yeah, so first of all, he talked about, like you said, having this different names on the same mattresses,
right,
and not being able to cross shop. You know, they talked about the way that mattresses are manufactured and the players that are involved in that space. But you know, as I thought about this video, the thing, and maybe I'm overly optimistic in a way, but as I looked at it, I thought, here's a video with 2.4 million views talking about buying a mattress, talking about that experience, highly produced, more like a film, more like a short movie than anything else. Actors were hired and sets and really great script writing. And I'm looking at that from my marketing mind going, and I'm thinking to myself, this is telling me that sleep and mattresses are highly relevant in pop culture right now, highly relevant in the consumer's minds right now. That's actually a good thing.
That is a good thing.
And ultimately, where he landed at first, I thought, oh, this is going to be kind of, you know, geared toward more bed-in-the-box companies because they're, you know, hip, new, and all that. But he beat up everybody kind of equally. And at the end, he's like, oh, it's just there's really no better option than what you have. So I thought my big takeaway really was around this idea that we're relevant, man. We're competing for the consumer dollars, and I think we're going to start winning more and more.
Competing with all the ad money being spent by a lot of the digital guys Boy, I mean, they're certainly getting inundated with mattress messaging, right? So, okay, how about this side? So I think that's a good positive way to look at that. I like that. What about this, Kinsley? What about pricing, right? So a lot of retailers go on sale, and then they go on another sale, and then they go on another sale, right? So it's from sale to sale to sale. And I just had a case where someone bought a bed at a retailer where they had run a discounted price. And then the retailer jumped into a better sale, and then they went back for whatever reason, and they saw a better discounted price. So, and it frustrated them. And so there's a lot of discounting in our industry. What would you say to the consumer that, I mean, isn't that just kind of like a lot of other industries, though? Should we be the ones to carry the burden for that?
Yeah, for some reason, we've become the lightning rod for those kind of practices. And really what we've done is we've trained the consumer that, yes, waiting for a sale is the right thing to do because it's going to happen many times throughout the year. And really, we've talked about this in the past, but absent of value, people are going to default to making a decision on price. Absent of value, price. That's what it really comes down to. So how can you build value in a grudge purchase in 30 seconds on a local TV spot? It's tough to do. It really creates more, you really need more of an omni-channel strategy. You need good training. You need things before, during, and after. It's tough.
I'm going to push on that, though. Is it really? People do it. I mean, in 30 seconds, you and I both know, when I first got into doing television stuff in the shop channels, they were like, okay, you have a minute. And I'm like, oh my God, that's all you got? And they're like, no, that's a lot of time. I'm like, how is a minute a lot of time? Well, actually, or a minute-long video, when you try to produce a minute-long video, when our videographers were like, Quinn, that's a long time. I'm like, a minute's nothing. It's a blink. And they're like, no, trust me. When you're producing 30 seconds, my argument is 30 seconds is plenty of time to say, this bed is made with this stuff. This stuff is awesome for these reasons. This stuff is great for you personally and emotionally for the following reasons also. And you know what? It's on sale right now at our store only for 3 days. You follow what I'm saying? So 20 seconds of building value with a 10-second tag of, and get your butt down here because it's on sale and you're going to miss it if you don't. Like, why isn't that? Like, why isn't there more of that? I don't get it. Like, I think you can build value.
And I think people in this space do a lot of that. Like, here's the product, here's a little bit of benefit.
No, man. I don't know.
But I mean, it's not across the board. It's not the standard practice. No. There are good people out there who are thinking creatively, coming up with ways to grab people's attention, but not just relying on the price and item advertising that is so popular. But you're right, it's common.
So look at flooring, look at washers and dryers, look at car. I mean, there's a lot of categories out there that run sales, so it's not like we're the Lone Ranger on that, right? Yeah. So I don't know. I think that's a little unfair. What else did he tag us with that was controversial? Can you think of anything?
Review sites.
Oh boy, he's got a great point there, though. We've talked about this one already, but
yeah, and we've had like an entire podcast dedicated to review sites and what that means, and really kind of how it shakes out is, people are looking for somebody to trust. When they do a Google search, the best place to hide a body, the second page of Google. Right. So they're looking for something to show up, someone to trust. Please tell me what to do because I have no idea how to navigate a purchase that happens once every decade. And even if it isn't a site that's a good player, if it looks legitimate and they do a little bit of research one-off from that site, people just want something to solve the problem and solve it quickly. We want the pain pill and we want it now. We want it to act quickly. So, I mean, I don't want to be nihilistic about it, but to some degree, I mean, whoever shows up in your field of view is the one that's going to win.
Right. And so, but you started that with the review. And by the way, nihilistic,
yeah,
great word. So educate me. I hope I'm not the only one that doesn't know the meaning.
Here's what nihilistic
you're only dumb if you don't ask the question, right?
Yeah,
I'm sorry. I don't know what it means. So I'm asking you to educate me.
Basically, nihilism means this: nothing really matters.
So, okay. Kirsten, please. All right, thank you. Let me get the real definition. Nihilistic, rejecting all religious and moral principles in the belief that life is meaningless.
What did I tell you?
right.
Nothing really mattress.
Nothing. Okay, you got it.
Anyone can see.
Okay.
Nothing really mattress
to me. Okay, good. I like that. Okay, so back to that. So I think that started with review sites. So again, through the consumer's lens, right? So they find out that betting brands are buying review sites, right? And there's been some manipulation in that. They find out that their affiliation to some of these companies certainly influence where they are and the kind of review. Not always, and if it's not always, that's okay. But then at some point you're in the consumer. So when is it not always?
Well,
how do you navigate that? And from a consumer side.
Check this out, though. Think about what just happened. Consumer Reports came out with their reviews of mattresses. And if you think about navigating a durable goods purchase for the past however many years, Consumer Report as a brand definitely comes up at the top of that list. So Consumer Reports still puts out a physical publication, still does testing and breaks down and analyzes mattresses and tries to serve up their best buys and their top rankings and their foams and their hybrids and their inner springs and all this stuff. So how does the online review space now begin to impact Consumer Reports? Because Consumer Reports, from what I understand, they may be picking out certain beds to review, but there's still a paid component from the brand to get those results published. That's my understanding. That could be inaccurate, but that's my understanding.
So wait, you just said that they're paying to get published?
That's my understanding.
No, I think that's true for Consumers Digest.
Digest, not
Not
reports.
reports. I think reports tries to maintain autonomy.
Okay, so now you have like the old guard in terms of reviews, Consumer Reports, and you have the online players that are putting out their own reviews. Does that deteriorate the results that you see in Consumer Reports or elevate them more? Like maybe they become a more trusted source. But I mean, and then you kind of have to break down, well, let's look at the Consumer Reports results, being industry insiders, being people that understand componentry, feel, and all that stuff. And let's look at the results of the Consumer Reports studies and see if you agree with them or disagree with them. Because you see the people that end up at the top of the list, and you're like, wow, there have been some mattress manufacturers that have been doing this, over 100 years, and now all of a sudden, these new brands come along and they know how to do it better. You know what I mean? It really calls some things into question.
Do you have that Consumer Reports?
Do you have Consumer Reports pulled up?
Because I want to make a point. So, okay, back to your point. Your question in that was, does the review site influence Consumer Reports, right? I think it kind of does, but in a weird way. Like, I think the relevancy of the mattress brand influences Consumer Reports because they're trying to sell magazines, right? So I think if you have a relevant brand, that helps you get maybe attention or placement on their list. And so I think that may be a part of it. But here's what I can say for sure. I do not know how anybody can take at this point, anyone in the industry, and I'm talking mattress dogs, like old school mattress dogs, can really believe anything Consumer Reports says the way that they push that report out. Because do you have it up, Kirsten? Okay, so so where's Tempur-Pedic on their list? And it's going to take it, because you know something? Tempur-Pedic, I think, is like 25.
It was low. I mean, you started looking at the breakdown, and you had Sealy did well. You had Serta not placing as high. You had Casper at the tops. You had Tuft & Needle as a best buy. Tempur-Pedic didn't come out looking as good as Sealy. And you really start to think about it, and you're like, okay, hold on a second. From what we know, whenever people go into the market for a mattress, most of them will not be denied the opportunity to at least try a Tempur-Pedic mattress. You know what I'm saying?
Completely.
Like, we've talked about that for years. And so how is there such a disconnect between what you would see on these charts and these lists and what we kind of know in the consumer space. And then, of course, you look at units and dollars and growth and all these different things. I'm like, that doesn't really match up because...
Well, you know what we should do? We should get your guys from the Leggett and Platt Testing Center, right? I'd put them up against anyone in the country in terms of testing protocol. I think we should task them with looking at the protocol that Consumer Reports uses.
It's tough to get.
Yeah, so as much as we can, and let's pick it apart a little bit, and let's do a little. And I think this is a good topic for us to discover because did you find that, Kirsten? Okay, so
yeah, it's going to be tough to find it online because you have to pay for it.
Well, we know that it's low, and all I'm saying is, I don't think Tempur-Pedic is ripping people off to that. You know what I'm saying? Like that. Right. That's essentially what they're telling Tempur-Pedic. Like you're charging the biggest premium of anyone in the business, and you don't even rank until like number 25. Like is that right? I just can't imagine. You know what I'm saying?
Like
what are they
there?
Testing? We gotta.
Yeah, and on top
peel the onion.
You've got a company that is spending hundreds of millions of dollars every year in consumer advertising.
Who are we talking about?
Well, you're talking about Tempur-Pedic,
okay.
Tempur-Sealy, SSB. They're spending hundreds of millions of dollars in consumer advertising. And you have, your beds. Let's see. I've got some of the data here. Barely placed a bed in the top 30 and only 3 in the top 50.
And who's that?
SSB and TSI combined. The ad spend is over, you're probably talking hundreds of millions a year, and had a few beds in the top 30 and only 3 in the top 50. Roll-packed foam beds dominated the promotional marketplace.
Sure.
Like I said, Tuft & Needle came in lower on the list, but got the nod as a best buy. Casper toward the top.
So let's pack all this together though through the lens of the consumer and this guy who's trying to make a viral video, right? You've got the names changing. Sorry, the names change. The battery was getting to you, wasn't it?
It just kept like rolling around. I'm like, no.
The names changing, right? You've got the sales on and off all the time. And then you've got things like review sites that are conflicted in terms of their authenticity. So I kind of get it. Yeah. Now, here's the thing, last comment. If you're a retailer, that's good news, isn't it? Because if that's happening and you have good practice and you do stuff that is counter to what delivers a bad reputation to our industry, then you can fly high and be in the blue ocean.
I kind of have to wonder. I mean, is what's happening right now kind of like you stepping onto the court and playing pickleball? In
what sense? You mean a complete disaster, like a fail?
You have these young guys stepping onto the court, and then you have like the people. I've been playing pickleball for years. I know the court, I know the placement, I know the strategy, and you're going to come in hot. Right, and you may be stepping on the pickleball court with like your fresh new uniform and your new paddle and all this stuff, but I'm gonna start teaching you some lessons. And yeah, you may beat me a few times here, but I'm playing the long game because I know strategically how to play pickleball. And then you're gonna walk away sweating and go do a podcast.
Okay, however, that analogy breaks down. You know why? Because in this game, the young guys are beating the old guys. Smoking them, as a matter of fact. That's the problem. Don't you think?
Why are you bragging about your pickleball?
No.
Why are you bragging about beating up on old people?
I'm saying it's completely opposite of what my experience is. Because I think the young guys are coming out.
Is that real or is that like, okay, so let me pick that apart. I'm going to push on that. Where does Tuft & Needle now live?
Their product or their brand?
Their entire company.
Online?
No.
In Arizona? With SSB?
With SSB.
Okay.
And the reason I bring that up, it's because when you think about being in the mattress business, I think there's a certain amount of growth that a lot of the brands have been able to achieve. And then once you're in the business long term, how do you get from one place to the next. It's like what got me here may not get me there.
Right.
You know, it's like getting from 1 million to 10 is very different than getting from 10 to 100.
No question.
100 to 500 is very different. $500 million to $1 billion, very, very different conditions, economics associated with that. So when you look at like the young guys beating up on the pickleball court with the old guys, they got absorbed. It's almost like these hip young guys came onto the pickleball court and they're like, you're going to be on our team now.
No, yeah, I get that. But it's one brand. And that was SSB's attempt and move to try to get closer to the digital space, which is growing big time. You've got.
I'm just trying to argue with you.
No, I know, but I'm agreeing that that's a good example of the older guys trying to make sure that they stay relevant, right? Look at Leggett saying, "Man, this e-commerce thing and this foam bed thing is real, and we want to participate." So they buy a company that's doing very well in that space. They don't want to not be included in the growth, whatever that looks like in the next 5 years. But there are so many online brands right now. That's where the energy is. The retail guys are trying to get as close to it and understand it and get their websites better every day. So they're moving closer to that. So I think it's sucking a lot of the oxygen out of the room. So I think that, you know, but let's be clear. The market, though, is still 80% in the hands of the traditional producers, right? Something like that?
Yeah, it is.
All right, so let's not get crazy.
And also, you know, the majority of the market from a dollar standpoint and a unit standpoint is still with traditional retail or brick and mortar retail. And so, you know, we've talked about this in the past. I'm kind of excited to see how things, I don't think shake out is the right word,
right?
But how things progress in the next 2 to 3 years. And I give you this time frame because I think that whenever you see the digital first brands start to get into brick and mortar, which we know they are, I'm wondering how that's going to impact your brick and mortar, you know, sleep shops that are out there that have been in the game for a long time. They know how to advertise in these markets. They know how to service customers with delivery and extras and promotions and things like that. Because I've always said, you know, if somebody comes along and they're playing your game, you should be better at it than them.
Right.
So it's going to create more awareness, more excitement around the sleep category. And I think the CollegeHumor video that we talked about earlier is kind of an indicator of that. That video, highly produced, really well done in terms of production, is tapping into something that people are thinking about. They're not going to do that if it's a throwaway topic. And it's not going to get 2.5 million views if it's a throwaway topic. So you take things that are happening online players getting into brick and mortar getting more competitive, brick and mortar understanding websites and digital marketing more, trying to think about how they're going to attract. More creativity is being magneted toward the mattress industry. I think it's going to be great. It's going to be fun.
I hope you're right. I would rather a video come out aspirational thinking. I would rather a video come out that said, you know, the mattress industry is awesome because they're advocates for great sleep, great health, weight loss, looking better, feeling better. And if you have that right equipment, then you can become a better version of who you are. Where's that video? Like, I would love that we were on the stump so hard as an industry, pushing so hard for naps in the middle of the day, pushing so hard for sleep health that we were the central focus of that discussion, the sleep discussion, not the negative side of a very promotional industry. That's what I would wish for us in the new year. That's a New Year's wish for our business.
You know, within every challenge, there's an opportunity. And I think a brand right now could heighten their relevance by figuring out a way to respond to the CollegeHumor video, maybe reaching out to this guy Adam and letting him know that, hey, at the end of the day, it maybe you're going to go lie down on one big ripoff, and that one big ripoff that you're talking about is going to refresh you, give you, you know, better cognitive reaction time, all the things that go into better sleep. But ultimately, it's going to make him funnier,
right?
Because he's getting
doubt.
better sleep. So whether he thinks it's a ripoff or not, like how could you tap into that and use that as an opportunity? That's
Well, you know what? It's a shame though, because the truth is there's a lot of really great actors in this industry that do it right, that focus on the benefit to the consumer and the person. So to those guys getting it right, for those guys that are on Sleep Geek and learning their way through Geek University and making an effort to, represent the category well, my hat is off to them. And I hope that we all continue to push towards that because, I really believe if you have an industry moving the right direction together, it's us against, and we've talked about this, Kinsley, it's us against other consumer product categories. It's us against the vacation. It's us against new carpet. It's us against putting braces on your kids' teeth. They don't need those braces. No. Let those kids' teeth be
smile.
They're fine.
I like how they look.
Don't make them all overly concerned about crooked teeth. Get the mattress. That's what they need. Am I wrong?
Well, I think you.
All right, fix your kids' teeth and then get a good bed. Okay.
Yeah, and that may be one of those situations I say do both.
Okay. We don't want your kids' teeth.
You can finance both of those things, and you're going to be good to go.
Right.
So don't worry about it. Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of people out there who don't cheat at pickleball.
Oh,
and who
now I'm cheating at pickleball.
No, I'm just saying. Like,
if I'm cheating and still getting smoked by 7-year-old
people out there who, in the mattress industry, my analogy is like they don't cheat at pickleball. If somebody new comes onto the court, they try to build them up, teach them the game, and promote them in the right direction. I think that's what we try to do. I really believe that. Like we try to highlight the good actors. We try to shine a light on some of the best practices that serve consumers.
No doubt.
And ultimately, try to have fun and bring people that want to have fun along with us.
Yeah. So hey, funny college humor guy, why don't you go out and find something positive? Shine some light, my man.
Be on the podcast.
Be on the podcast. Let's get him on the podcast. That would be great.
Yeah, we'll try it.
All right.
Well, it's fun, man. Hey, thank you very much for listening. Thank you for your time. Hey, I was thinking about the Warby Parker video before we wrap up today.
Yep.
If you tweet at Mark Kinsley, so if you hop on Twitter and tweet at Mark Kinsley and ask me to give like a personal reply, I'll do that.
Ooh, nice.
I will do that.
You should do that.
Maybe it's like some words of encouragement to your RSAs or to your retailers.
I would join it. I would absolutely do that.
At Mark Quinn 03.
At Mark Quinn 03.
At Mark Quinn 03.
At Mark Quinn 03.
Or at Mark Kinsley. You can hop on Twitter. But I like that so much that if you want us to send you something personal, we're happy
tell us
to
what you're after there. And you know what? Rate us. So it's important for us. It's like anything. We're authentic in our ratings. We don't go to India. We don't have a bank of people going on to rate. Cell phone farms going in to like rate our podcast. We count on you. So do that and tell someone about the podcast because there's good stuff for people that are hungry for industry information. So even though it's just us, right, Kinsley?
It's just us, man.
Just us. So check it out.
And you guys. And we appreciate it. Thanks for everybody that tuned in.
So
on
when
Facebook
is this gonna publish? Like after the new year?
Man, why you put me on the spot?
Well, no. So whenever it is, here's what's real.
Put me on the spot,
Here's what's real. Here's what's real. Vegas market's coming up, and to tease the next episode, we're gonna have a full-blown look and discussion about what's coming.
Wait a second.
What?
No, the next episode is gonna be with Mike Douglas from Maloof.
Oh, it is. Okay, awesome.
I recorded that one ahead of time.
Nice. Mike Douglas. Nice. He had a talk show years ago. Him and Diana Shore. Oh, not the same guy.
Different Mike Douglas.
Are you sure?
Mike Douglas from Maloof.
Okay.
The sleep essentials provider.
Oh, that Mike Douglas. All right. It'd be cool if you get the other one too. I think you may be.
I'm working on it.
All right.
I'm working on it.
See if you can get him.
So then after the Mike Douglas podcast, we're gonna start doing some stuff for Vegas Market. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, we are. Well, we need to talk about that because there's some really cool stuff. We're gonna talk about Doug Krinsky too because Doug has an incredible event, Autism,
Anti for Autism.
Anti for
event,
Autism. Yeah, we both played in that. So that's a great poker event for benefiting the Autism Foundation. So I'm going to talk about that in more detail and some of the stuff that's coming for market. I've got some stuff I want to talk about that, Kinsley. It's hot. It's going to be pretty awesome.
Are you talking about for Spink and Edgar?
Yeah, all new.
Nice.
It's
nice.
very cool. Yep. So
okay, but real quickly, just to tease this before we hit it to it, please do join us at the Anti for Autism event at Las Vegas Market.
for sure.
It is a large poker tournament, lots of celebrities, great prizes, excellent industry event. You'll see a lot of your friends there. And we support the Anti for Autism event. And Doug Krinsky, thanks for bringing the industry together around such a great cause to benefit people who are in families who are facing something that can be very challenging. But yeah, plan on being there. Check it out, Anti for Autism. Just Google that. It's going to pop up. And be sure to join us there. Mark, you're going to be there?
Yeah, I'm going to be there for sure. 7 p.m. Put it on your calendar right now. Open your calendar. Put it on your calendar. 7 p.m. Golden Nugget Grand Event Center.
What date?
On the 26th in Vegas Market. It's where all the cool people are.
7 p.m.
And I understand that people like Arnold Schwarzenegger might be there.
Yeah. I got to meet Randy Couture, one of the MMA champions. The lady Jacqueline from the Real Housewives of New Jersey. Her and her husband were there. I got to say hi to them. Jose Canseco was there.
I'm kidding about Schwarzenegger. But so Canseco was there. Did you meet him?
Yeah, and I have to admit something. Okay, this is kind of terrible. So I hope Canseco doesn't get mad at me because he's a giant. I'm
going to see that.
So
I'm going to tell him whenever you're about to tell me. I'm going to tell him directly.
Canseco. Okay, so right before this tournament, like several months before, there was a rumor that went around. Actually, a news report came out that Canseco shot off one of his fingers with a gun. Okay?
What you talking about, Willis?
Hey, man, listen to this. So at the tournament, I'm like, I look at Canseco. He walks in, and he's like guarding his hand the whole time, and I can't see what's going on. And they said it was his ring finger. So I'm thinking, I got to get a glimpse of Canseco here, right? So finally, I go over to the poker table, and he's got his hand like under his armpit the entire time. I can't see anything. Well, I kept getting up, and it was probably like getting apparent what I was doing. I hope not. But I was
Did you go to and try and high five him?
Oh man, yeah. High five, Canseco.
High five up top.
No, I tried to give him the double hand high five, so he couldn't try to do the opposite.
Sure.
So finally, there was a little bit of action, and he kind of had to reach for his chips and do something at the same time. And I look, and I'm like, he's got some sort of special finger bridge. And his finger, a live finger, was still on there. They sewed it back on, and he had this little bridge.
What is wrong with you?
What do you mean what's wrong
Why
with
do
you?
you care if he lost
to
it?
see if he shot his
Why?
finger off.
I don't understand.
Because
Why does that matter?
He shot his own finger off.
Oh, it happens, Kinsley.
I understand.
Come on, that's.
But Canseco, man, he's a character.
Oh no doubt about it. So was it true?
Yes, he shot his finger up.
He legitimately.
Yes. Okay, and I was sitting beside. The guy that was sitting beside me.
How do you know? Did he? Okay, so you saw it, and you saw that it had
been repaired.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that's not. Well, hey man, at least it didn't happen when he was playing ball, right?
Yeah.
So do you mind if I one up your story?
No, go for it.
I don't know if it's gonna one up it, but it's pretty funny. So I'm playing in his event. In Krinsky's event, Anti for Autism. And I'm sitting next to a guy. And so they said, okay, all the celebrities, would you stand up? And,
And you stood up.
That is so mean. No, definitely not. So this guy sitting next to me stands up, and I'm thinking to myself, I didn't know that I was sitting next to a celebrity. I wonder who the person is. So he stands up and he sits back down. I'm like, no, I didn't. So like, what's your game, man? What is your celebrity status coming from? And he said, well, I'm an actor and I've been in some stuff. And I said, well, is there anything I might know? And he said, Kindergarten Cop is the one that I'm most recognized for. And I said, oh. I said, well, what role did you have in Kindergarten Cop?
Here we go.
So he says, you remember that little kid in class that said, boys have penises, girls have vaginas? I go, yes, that was the funniest line. That's me. I said, that was not you. He said, it was me. That was me. That was my line. And I said, you've got to be kidding me because that kid is so cute. Do you remember that kid?
Yeah.
And so anyway, I'm like, so how well has that done for you over the years? He said, you would not believe. Can you imagine this guy in a bar, right? Like telling people like that was him and that was his line. I mean, how freaking funny is that?
So that's why you were saying the governor is going to be there, because of
the kindergarten.
And wasn't his name Miko?
Miko, that's exactly
I remember.
right. Good memory.
Yeah.
And by the way, the guy was like really, really a cool guy, and he's done many other things.
You know
I'm
who I
sure.
got to sit beside?
Who?
Speaking of child stars,
Who?
His name is Donnie something Brasco. Not Donnie Brasco. It's a movie. But anyway, he was the kid from the movie Hook.
Oh yeah, yeah.
You remember the movie Hook with the
sure,
Peter
great
Pan
show.
film?
Yeah, but Robin Williams.
Rufio.
Oh
Rufio!
yeah, Rufio. Yeah, right.
It was Rufio.
No.
I got to play beside him.
Is that right?
Yeah, Dante something like that.
Dante, that sounds right.
Anyway, he's a really nice guy. He's super cool.
So you never know who you're going to get to play
the
poker
only
with.
like actual poker story I have from that's my favorite though. Maybe the second time I played in the tournament, whenever they moved it to the Golden Nuggets big room,
Right.
The second time I played there, I'm sitting down. It's the opening hand. Everybody's throwing in their money. There's action all over the table. It comes around to me. I've got 7 queen offsuit. Not a good hand to start with, and we're playing Texas Hold'em. So 7 queen offsuit, but I'm like, man, there's a bunch of action out there. I'm like, I'll see the flop. So I put in my money, flop. Everybody at the table put in their money.
Queen 7 flops.
Queen 7 flops.
No way.
Yeah, and then there was like there may have been an Queen 7. A queen was the highest card, so I'm like, shoot. Action comes around the table again. Everybody's going in. And I'm like,
Shut up.
I push all in.
You're all in.
I'm all in at that point because you don't have a big stack. It's early in the tournament. So I push all in.
You're solid with 2 pairs.
Dude next to me pushes all in right beside me. This dude to my left.
Retro.
And then it comes back around, and then some people drop out, and I end up winning the hand. I think I drew another 7.
What did the guy have?
The guy beside me had
queen.
like an ace king or something like that, so he was trying to draw on a high card. So I knock him out. He was $1 million a year pro that had won this tournament the previous year, named Chip Jet.
Oh yeah,
You know Chip?
Sure, I know.
And
Chip.
his wife plays. She's a
his
pro
wife?
as well.
Right.
So I
right.
knocked him out, man.
Hey,
First round.
you're the man.
Turkey.
Well done.
Well, and then he bought back in, and I think he proceeded to smoke a lot of people and like get to the final table.
Well, you
did.
did your part though.
I did my part, yeah.
Yeah. All right.
So
Well,
it's super fun. So I encourage you to come out. It's a lot of fun.
all right. Go play some pickleball. Watch WPT. Get ready for anti-frautism. So check that out. And hey, man, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, man.
All right. It's
I think
2019.
this is probably we are in 2019 as of this airing.
as
I
of
think.
right now. We're in a.
You know what? There's only one song that I like to start off the new year with.
Let's hear it right now.
Here it is.
Bounce on it. Yeah, bounce with it, bounce with it. Bounce with it, bounce with it. Alright. What is a hybrid? It's like peanut butter jelly, peanut butter chocolate. Hybrid so tight, there's no way that you could topple it. Hybrid on my wrist, that's a calculator watch. We add ourselves together and we take it up a notch.
Got the airflow, yo, keep you cool as